Let me tell you something bold today. You don't have to announce your growth, just grow. You don't have to explain your vision, just build it. And you don't have to prove your worth, just walk in it. See, the most powerful moves are often made in silence. While others are making noise, you're making progress. While they're posting, you're planting. While they're talking, you're transforming. You don't have to announce your growth, just grow. Not everything needs to be posted, shared, or explained. In fact, some of the most powerful breakthroughs happen behind closed doors, in the quiet places where no one's watching. Growth is often invisible in its early stages. A seed doesn't sprout overnight, and a tree doesn't shout when it pushes through the soil. It just grows. Silently, steadily, confidently. You too are allowed to grow in that same quiet strength without needing to prove anything to anyone. There's a pressure in today's world to constantly showcase your progress, as if your journey isn't valid unless someone else applauds it. But growth isn't about performance, it's about transformation. It's not for show, it's for you. When you start living for the approval of others, you risk building a life that looks good on the outside but feels empty on the inside. But when you grow for the sake of becoming who you're meant to be, that's when the transformation becomes real and lasting. You don't need to explain your silence. You're not being distant, you're developing. You're not hiding, you're healing. You're not stalling, you're strengthening. There's power in being still while the world rushes around you. You can rest in the confidence that what you're building in private will speak volumes in due time. You're crafting something deeper than recognition. You're crafting resilience. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparison, to look around and wonder if you're doing enough, saying enough, sharing enough. But your journey isn't measured by visibility, it's measured by authenticity. What's growing under the surface is far more valuable than what people can see. There are parts of your growth that are sacred, too personal for public display. Honor that. Don't rush to reveal what's still being refined. When you keep your growth private, it stays pure. There's no need to dilute your journey by opening it up to unnecessary opinions or outside noise. Not everyone will understand your process, and they don't have to. What matters is that you understand the direction you're heading, even if no one else sees the full picture yet. Your clarity is more important than their validation. Growth is messy, it's uncertain, it's uncomfortable, but it's also beautiful, powerful, and personal. And when you're focused on real growth, you don't have time to entertain every question or justify every step. You're not trying to convince people, you're trying to change. That kind of transformation takes time, intention, and quiet perseverance. You don't need an audience for that. You just need commitment. Keep your energy on becoming, not performing. There's something incredibly freeing about knowing you don't owe anyone an update on your evolution. You can detach from the need to be seen and still move forward with purpose. Every silent step you take is still a step forward. Every unseen effort is still building something strong within you. Growth doesn't need recognition to be real, it just needs consistency. Real power doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't crave attention, applause, or acknowledgement. True strength is comfortable in the shadows, in the places where no one is looking. It's found in those quiet moments when you're choosing discipline over distraction, patience over impulse, and integrity over image. Real power isn't in what you show people, it's in what you master when no one's watching. It's not loud or boastful, it's calm, steady, and unshakable. You see, the strongest people are often the ones who say the least. They don't announce their every move or broadcast their intentions. They simply live, work, and grow in silence. Not because they're hiding, but because they understand the value of sacred work. Work that's done internally before it's ever seen externally. When you carry real power, you don't need to constantly explain yourself, defend your path, or prove your worth. You let your presence speak. You let your actions reveal the truth. Real power is rooted, not reactive. It doesn't rise and fall based on opinions, likes, or attention. It doesn't need to chase validation because it knows its own value. People who walk in real strength don't flinch when they're misunderstood. They don't panic when they're overlooked. They know who they are and where they're going, and that's enough. That quiet confidence, that unshakable inner peace is more powerful than any spotlight could ever offer. When you rely on the spotlight to feel significant, you'll always be chasing it. You'll move from moment to moment, needing someone to affirm you, to see you, to tell you that you matter. But when you tap into real power, you no longer seek external confirmation. You operate from a place of knowing, not needing. That's where your freedom begins. You stop performing and start living with purpose. You stop talking and start doing. You become unbothered by the noise because you're grounded in your mission. The spotlight can create illusion. It can make things seem bigger, more impressive, more complete than they really are. But real power strips away illusion. It doesn't hide behind performance or perception. It confronts truth, embraces growth, and endures pressure. It doesn't need to convince, it just is. It's solid, even in silence. That's why the most impactful work is usually done behind the scenes, in the late nights, early mornings, and unseen hours when no one else is paying attention. Some of the greatest victories you'll ever win will happen in the quiet. The habits you build, the mindset you develop, the healing you walk through. These things may never be celebrated publicly, but they will shape who you become. Real power doesn't skip the process. It doesn't need shortcuts. It understands the value of hidden seasons. These are the times when you're being prepared, strengthened, and refined, not for the spotlight, but for the life you're called to live. In a world that constantly pushes you to be seen, to be loud, to be known, real power chooses the opposite. It's not that it fears visibility, it simply doesn't depend on it. Real power doesn't shout to be heard, it whispers and people lean in. It doesn't demand attention, it commands respect. And that respect is earned not by presentation, but by consistency, character, and depth. The kind of depth that only develops when you're not trying to impress, but to grow. You don't have to shine to be powerful. The sun rises every day without an announcement. The ocean moves with quiet authority. Mountains stand tall without saying a word. Real power works the same way. It's present, it's consistent, and it's enough. It doesn't need the world to see it to know that it matters. It just shows up again and again in silence, with strength. You're not here to impress. You're here to evolve. You weren't created to live your life based on someone else's expectations, approval, or applause. Your purpose runs deeper than performance. There's a version of you that's growing, stretching, and unfolding behind the scenes, and that version doesn't need to be light. It just needs to be real. The need to impress will keep you chasing applause, but the desire to evolve will keep you chasing growth. One is about image, the other is about becoming. When your focus is on impressing others, your energy goes into crafting appearances. What you wear, what you post, what you say, how you're perceived. But when your focus is on evolving, your energy goes inward. You start paying attention to your mindset, your habits, your emotional triggers, your discipline. You stop worrying about being seen, and you start worrying about being whole. Evolution demands honesty, and honesty isn't always glamorous. It requires you to face your flaws, own your mistakes, and stretch beyond comfort. Living to impress will keep you on a constant treadmill of comparison. You'll measure your progress by someone else's highlight reel. You'll feel the pressure to look successful even when you're struggling, to appear confident even when you're unsure. But evolution teaches you to stay in your lane. It teaches you that growth isn't always visible and success isn't always loud. It reminds you that your value doesn't increase just because more people are watching. It increases when you become more aligned with who you were created to be. Impressing people often means shrinking parts of yourself to fit their expectations. It's putting on a mask to avoid rejection. But evolving means embracing your full self, your light, your shadows, your process. It means understanding that you're not for everyone, and that's okay. Evolution allows you to live in freedom because you're no longer seeking to be admired, you're seeking to be authentic. And authenticity is magnetic. It doesn't beg for attention, it earns trust through truth. There's nothing wrong with being seen, but when being seen becomes your priority, your growth takes a back seat. Impressing might open doors, but it's your evolution that will keep you inside the room. Because charm might get you noticed, but character is what sustains you. Evolving means doing the hard work even when no one is watching. It's learning, unlearning, falling, rising, and becoming without needing a stage or a round of applause. The journey of evolution is slow, uncomfortable, and often invisible. You'll outgrow people, mindsets, and environments. You'll have to make peace with solitude, face internal battles, and let go of versions of yourself that once felt safe. But it's in this very process that your foundation is built. Not a foundation of image, but one of resilience. A foundation that won't crumble under pressure because it was forged in authenticity, not performance. When you evolve, you stop asking, do they like me, and start asking, am I growing? That shift changes everything. It liberates you from people-pleasing and anchors you in purpose. It gives you the freedom to change, to fail, to pivot, to become, because you're no longer trying to fit a mold, you're creating your own path. And on that path, there's room for mistakes, grace, learning, and renewal. You're not here to be perfect, you're here to grow. Impressing might get you applause today, but evolving will change your life for years to come. One fades when the attention fades, the other lasts because it's rooted in truth. The world may celebrate the person who shines, but it's the person who evolves that will stand the test of time. Every moment you choose growth over performance, depth over display, and truth over trends, you take another step closer to becoming the version of you that's real, whole, and unshakably grounded. Let your results do the talking. In a world where everyone feels pressured to explain, prove, and defend their path, there's something powerful about staying silent and letting your progress speak for itself. You don't have to tell people what you're going to do when you're focused on doing it. The loudest statement you can make is consistency. The most impactful message you can send is elevation. And sometimes the greatest proof is in simply becoming what others thought you couldn't. Talking can be easy. Anyone can make a promise, post a plan, or share a dream. But delivering on it, that's what separates the talkers from the doers. When your energy shifts from explaining to executing, everything changes. You no longer spend your days convincing people you're serious. You spend your days getting serious. You put your head down, show up, and grind. You let your discipline replace your declaration. And in time, the results become impossible to ignore. There's a quiet strength in the person who doesn't argue, doesn't beg to be believed, doesn't need to correct the narrative. They just keep building. They keep pushing, they keep growing. And eventually what they've built becomes the evidence that no explanation ever could. You don't have to fight for recognition when your work is undeniable. You don't have to explain your path when your progress is visible. There's power in being so focused on your growth that you stop responding to doubt altogether. Letting your results do the talking means you're choosing peace over pettiness. It means you're more concerned with the work you're doing than the opinions people are forming. It means you're not chasing applause, you're chasing alignment. And when you find that alignment, everything you do starts to reflect your values, your vision, and your commitment. It's a mindset shift. It's realizing that you don't have to be loud to be legendary. You just have to be relentless. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you've gone quiet, why you've changed, or why you're no longer available for certain conversations. Growth requires focus, and focus requires silence. When you stop wasting energy on proving yourself, you free up that energy to improve yourself. That's when results start to stack. That's when the transformation begins to show. And the people who doubted you, they'll see it not because you told them, but because you became it. Results don't lie. They reflect effort, time, sacrifice, and resilience. They speak in a language that everyone understands, even the ones who tried to discredit you. Your progress, your healing, your wins, those things are louder than any argument you could ever make. And the beautiful thing about results is that they last longer than opinions. People can doubt you all day, but they can't deny the fruit of your labor when it shows up. There's wisdom in moving in silence. Not every idea needs to be shared before it's done. Not every plan needs to be defended before it's proven. When you let your results do the talking, you allow your life to unfold naturally without the pressure of performance. You get to protect the sacred parts of your journey, the moments that are still tender and in process. You get to build without noise, without fear, without distraction. And what you build in silence often stands the strongest. People may not understand your silence at first. They may question your absence, misinterpret your distance, or assume your delay is failure. But you don't owe them clarity in the middle of your climb. You owe yourself commitment. Let them wonder, let them speculate. You just keep showing up, keep doing the work, and keep trusting that your results will speak on your behalf louder than any words ever could. Quiet seasons are preparation seasons. They often feel like a pause, like nothing is moving, like you're stuck in stillness while the rest of the world races forward. But that stillness isn't punishment, it's positioning. It's in the quiet where roots grow deep. It's in the silence where clarity begins to form. These are the moments when everything beneath the surface is being strengthened, shaped, and refined. Just because it's not loud doesn't mean it's not productive. In fact, the most powerful growth usually happens in the quiet. There's a pressure to always be in motion, to always be visible, to always be making noise. But preparation doesn't always look impressive. Sometimes it looks like discipline no one claps for. Sometimes it looks like tears behind closed doors or routines that feel repetitive. But these moments build the foundation for everything that's coming. It's in these seasons that character is formed, endurance is built, and purpose is clarified. What you learn in the quiet will sustain you when the spotlight comes. During preparation seasons, you may not feel celebrated, you may not feel recognized, but that doesn't mean you're not growing. It means you're being hidden for a reason. There are things you still need to learn, battles you still need to win internally, and strength you still need to gather. If the door hasn't opened yet, it's because the version of you on the other side needs what this quiet season is building in you. This time is not wasted, it's necessary. Quiet seasons teach you patience. They strip away the noise so you can finally hear your own thoughts, your own voice, and your own spirit. In the silence, you start to understand what really matters. You begin to separate your identity from your productivity. You learn that your worth isn't tied to being seen, but to simply being. That revelation is powerful. It grounds you. It centers you. It reminds you that your value isn't up for debate just because things feel slow. You may be tempted to rush through this season, to force results, to fabricate progress just to feel like you're doing something. But rushing can ruin what still needs refining. When a seed is planted, it doesn't sprout because you dig it up every day to check its progress. It needs darkness. It needs stillness. It needs time. You are no different. Trust that something is taking root beneath the surface, even when you can't see it yet. Your time will come, but this is your time to prepare. The quiet teaches you to show up for yourself when no one else is watching. It trains your discipline. It fine-tunes your habits. It tests your resilience. These are the skills you'll rely on when the pace picks up and the demands increase. If you can stay faithful in the silence, you'll be ready when the volume turns up. The reward doesn't go to the loudest. It goes to the most prepared. And preparation happens in the parts of life no one sees. The season might not feel exciting, but it is essential. You're being taught how to sustain success, how to carry your calling, and how to stand firm when storms come. That's not small work. That's foundational work. Just because no one's cheering right now doesn't mean you're off course. Some of your greatest victories will come after the quiet, but only if you learn to honor the season you're in and do the internal work without needing external praise. Quiet seasons are where your spirit grows stronger, your vision grows clearer, and your identity grows deeper. These aren't the lost chapters of your story. They're the ones that prepare you to write the most powerful ones ahead. What feels like a delay is often a divine setup. What feels like silence is often the sound of something greater being formed inside you. Stay present. Stay faithful. Because nothing about this season is accidental. It's all preparation. Stay in your lane and trust the process. It's easy to look to the side, to compare your pace, your progress, your path to everyone around you, but comparison will only distract you from the assignment that's uniquely yours. Your lane was designed with your gifts, your lessons, your timing in mind. Trying to run someone else's race will only exhaust you. What's meant for you is not up ahead in someone else's story. It's right in front of you, waiting for your full focus, your full commitment, your full surrender. When you stay in your lane, you take your power back. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's timeline. You stop feeling behind because someone else got there faster. Speed doesn't equal success, and visibility doesn't equal value. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happen in the slow seasons. Some of the most beautiful transformations take time. Trusting the process means releasing the urge to control, the need to rush, the fear of being overlooked. It means believing that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should, even when it doesn't make sense yet. Every step you take in your own lane, no matter how small, builds momentum. Even when no one's clapping, even when progress feels invisible, something is shifting. You're building consistency. You're learning how to be faithful with the little things. And that faithfulness is what creates readiness. The process may not always be exciting, but it is essential. The slow grind, the hidden growth, the private victories. Those are the bricks that build the future you've been praying for. Trusting the process doesn't mean you'll never doubt or get frustrated. It means you keep showing up even when you do. It means you choose discipline over distraction. It means you keep sowing even when you haven't seen a harvest yet. When you trust the process, you stop needing constant proof. You start walking in quiet confidence, knowing that what's coming is bigger than what you can see right now. You stop looking for shortcuts and start building something that will last. The process is where you gain what the finish line can't give you. It's where your character is shaped, your mindset is challenged, your strength is developed. It's where you learn to lean on something greater than your own plan. You learn patience, humility, and perseverance. These lessons can't be rushed or skipped. They're part of the molding. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment becomes a tool in your hands. Nothing is wasted when you're committed to the process. Staying in your lane also protects your peace. It guards you from the anxiety that comes from constantly comparing or trying to keep up. Your lane may look different. It may not get as much attention, but that doesn't make it any less important. In fact, the difference is often the proof that it's divine. You weren't created to blend in. You were created to walk a path that's deeply personal, deeply intentional. And the more you honor that path, the more peace and purpose you'll find. There will be moments when it feels like everyone is passing you, like you're being left behind, like you missed your moment. But timing is not a competition. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Trust that your lane is leading somewhere good. Trust that every step, every lesson, every moment is preparing you for what's ahead. The spotlight might come later, but the strength you're building now will make sure you're ready when it does. When you stop looking sideways and start looking inward, everything changes. You realize that success isn't about getting there first, it's about getting there whole. And wholeness is a product of process. The person you're becoming along the way matters just as much as the place you're going. So breathe, slow down, and stay in your lane. There's something powerful happening beneath the surface, something only the process can produce. And your only job is to trust it enough to keep going. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. In a world that equates noise with power, it takes strength to choose quiet. It takes wisdom to withhold when you could react, to observe when you could speak, to rise above when you could retaliate. Silence doesn't mean you're passive, it means you're positioned. It means you're choosing presence over panic, clarity over chaos, and discernment over drama. When you understand the value of silence, you stop feeling the need to fill every space with your voice and start recognizing the power that exists in holding it. People may misinterpret your silence as surrender, but silence can be the most calculated move you make. It creates space. Space to reflect, to realign, to respond with intention instead of impulse. While others are busy talking, proving, defending, and arguing, you're stepping back, gathering your thoughts, protecting your energy. That's not weakness, that's maturity. It's the kind of self-control that allows you to move with wisdom instead of emotion. And in the long run, that kind of silence always speaks louder than noise ever could. When you're silent, you become more aware. You notice what others miss. You hear what's not being said. You see patterns, intentions, and motives that get lost in all the chatter. Silence sharpens your intuition. It invites revelation. You stop reacting to everything around you and start responding from a place of groundedness. It's in the silence that you gain your edge, because your decisions aren't based on pressure, they're based on perspective. You begin to lead yourself from a place of strength that doesn't need to be announced. Choosing silence is about protecting your peace. Not every conflict needs your commentary. Not every offense deserves your reaction. Not every critic has earned your attention. There is power in simply not engaging, in letting people underestimate you while you build, in letting rumors die without oxygen, in letting your life become the loudest rebuttal to everything that tried to shake you. That's not running away. That's choosing where to place your energy so you can keep moving forward with clarity and purpose. Silence also gives you room to grow in private. When you stop narrating every step, you get to evolve without interference. You're not managing opinions or seeking validation. You're doing the inner work. You're healing, creating, planning, rebuilding. And the less people know, the more they have to respect what you've built when it shows up fully formed. Silence gives you authority when you do speak, because your words are backed by transformation. There's weight to the voice that doesn't speak unless it's necessary. Some of the strongest people are the quietest ones, not because they have nothing to say, but because they know not everything needs to be said. They've learned to listen more than they speak, to act more than they announce, to move in silence and let their consistency make the statement. These are the people who are underestimated, overlooked, even dismissed, until their work shows up and changes the game. And by then, they don't need to explain. The fruit speaks for itself. Silence also guards your vision. When you share too soon, you invite distractions, doubts, and detours. But when you protect your plans, you give them room to grow without interruption. Everything doesn't need to be posted. Every move doesn't need to be broadcast. Sometimes the most strategic thing you can do is build in the dark until it's ready to shine in the light. Let people wonder. Let them speculate. Silence gives you the freedom to fail, to revise, to shift, and to rise without unnecessary noise clouding your direction. When you stop trying to be heard and start trying to be aligned, you realize that silence isn't you losing, it's you learning. It's you reserving your voice for the right moments, the right messages, the right movements. It's you stepping out of reaction and into mastery. Silence gives you control over your narrative by not letting anyone else write it for you. It puts you in the driver's seat, choosing your words, your timing, your truth. And that's not weakness. That's strategy of the highest form. Be rooted like the oak and soar like the eagle. No noise, just presence. The oak tree stands tall, deeply anchored in the earth. Its roots stretch wide beneath the surface. It is unmoved by the winds that blow, weathering storms and seasons without losing its strength. It doesn't need to shout to prove its existence. Its very presence speaks of stability, of resilience, of unwavering endurance. Just as the oak tree is planted deeply in the soil, you too must find your foundation, your core beliefs, your sense of self that doesn't waver when the storms of life come. The beauty of being rooted like the oak is that it allows you to grow with grace, with patience, and with purpose. Its branches reach high into the sky, its leaves provide shade, and its trunk stands firm. The oak knows that in order to grow tall, it must first grow deep. The same is true for you. Your growth, your success, your achievements will only be sustainable if they are built on a strong foundation. It's easy to want to rise quickly, to rush toward the finish line, but the real power comes when you take the time to deepen your roots. When you are rooted, no matter what life throws at you, you stand tall, unshaken, and unbroken. Being rooted like the oak also means being grounded in your values and beliefs. In a world that constantly changes, your roots will be the thing that keeps you steady. Without a firm foundation, you'll be like a leaf in the wind, tossed in every direction by the opinions and judgments of others. But when you are deeply rooted, you know who you are. And that identity doesn't depend on external validation. Your presence becomes your statement, a quiet assurance that you have nothing to prove. The world might be loud, but your rootedness gives you the power to rise above the noise. Soaring like the eagle comes next. The eagle is not just a creature of the earth. It is a symbol of vision, freedom, and power. It doesn't waste energy chasing after things. Instead, it glides effortlessly on the wind, high above the distractions below. The eagle has learned to trust the air, to allow the current to carry it, to find its way without flapping its wings constantly. In the same way, when you are rooted, you can soar with grace. You can trust that the path will unfold as you stay true to yourself. Soaring doesn't require frantic effort. It requires a deep sense of confidence that the space you need will open up for you when the time is right. When you soar like the eagle, you don't have to compete for attention. Your presence is enough. Eagles fly high, not to be seen, but because that is where they belong. They do not engage with every challenge they encounter. Instead, they rise above it. The same is true for you. When you are rooted in your purpose, in your values, and in your strength, you don't have to force your way into the spotlight. You don't need to yell or beg for recognition. Your work, your vision, your presence will naturally rise above the noise. Not because you forced it, but because you allowed yourself the space to grow and the wisdom to glide. Being rooted like the oak and soaring like the eagle also means understanding the seasons of life. The oak goes through seasons of dormancy and growth, much like the eagle soars during the warmer months and rests when necessary. You cannot always be in a state of constant motion, constantly striving or constantly growing. There will be moments where you need to be still, where your roots are deepening, where you are recalibrating and resting. These moments of stillness are not wasted. They are part of your growth. You don't have to rush through them. In fact, embracing the quiet seasons allows you to soar higher in the next chapter of your journey. You must learn to trust the process of being rooted and soaring. There will be times when it feels like nothing is moving. There will be times when you feel like you're grounded, unable to move forward. But just as the oak tree's roots spread silently beneath the surface, your progress might not always be visible. Just because you can't see the growth doesn't mean it's not happening. Trust that your foundation is being built, that your wings are growing stronger, and that when it's time to soar, you will be ready. The combination of being rooted and soaring brings balance into your life. It's not about being stuck in one place or always moving forward without pause. It's about knowing when to stay grounded, finding strength in your stillness, and knowing when to spread your wings and rise above. When you embody both, you become unstoppable. You become someone who doesn't need to prove their worth, someone who lets their presence do the talking. And in that silence, you become a force of nature, powerful and unshakable. Your life will speak louder than your words ever could. It's easy to get caught up in talking about what we want to achieve, what we're going to do, or the changes we plan to make. In a world full of noise, it often feels like we need to shout to be heard. But the truth is, words alone rarely leave a lasting impact. It's your actions, your choices, your consistency over time that speak volumes. People will remember the way you showed up, not just the things you said. In the end, what you do matters far more than what you tell others you're going to do. We live in a world where it's tempting to use words to define our worth or justify our actions. Social media, for example, often rewards words, posts, tweets, captions. And in that world, we can easily fall into the trap of talking about who we are instead of truly being who we are. But the most profound form of communication comes through the way we live, the integrity we show, the work we put in, and the relationships we nurture. It's in the quiet dedication to your purpose, the sacrifices that no one sees, and the way you handle challenges with grace that your life speaks louder than any claim ever could. Words can inspire, yes. They can encourage, motivate, and uplift. But words can also fade. They can be forgotten or misinterpreted. Actions, on the other hand, create a deeper, more lasting impression. When people see you walking the path you've talked about, when they see you living your truth with conviction, they remember that. Actions speak with more authority because they are backed by real experience. They show others that you are not just someone who talks the talk, but someone who walks the walk. One of the most powerful aspects of letting your life speak for itself is the way it sets an example for others. People don't always listen to what you say, but they watch what you do. When you show up every day, putting in the effort, staying consistent, staying true to your values, others take note. Even if they don't say it, your life becomes a roadmap for those who are looking for guidance, even if they never ask for it. By simply living authentically, you give others permission to do the same. The impact of your life isn't confined to the immediate people around you. It ripples outward, influencing others in ways you might never fully see. The way you carry yourself, the kindness you show, the resilience you display in the face of adversity, all of these things are teaching people lessons far beyond words. You become an example of what it looks like to live with purpose, to stay true to who you are, and to face challenges without being defined by them. Your legacy is written not in speeches or declarations, but in the way you navigate life's ups and downs. Consistency is key in letting your life speak louder than your words. It's not about making big, grand gestures every now and then. It's about showing up day after day with integrity, authenticity, and commitment. People watch you in the quiet moments, the times when no one is watching, when there's no applause. It's in those moments that your character is formed, and it's those moments that speak the loudest. A single act of consistency repeated over time speaks volumes about who you are and what you stand for. It's also important to remember that when your life speaks louder than your words, you stop feeling the need to constantly defend yourself or justify your decisions. When your actions align with your values and purpose, you let the results of your efforts speak for themselves. You no longer need to explain why you're doing what you're doing or seek validation from others. People will see your commitment, your results, and the authenticity with which you live, and that will carry far more weight than any explanation ever could. Ultimately, living a life that speaks louder than your words is about finding alignment between what you say and what you do. It's about being true to your word, walking with integrity, and creating a life that reflects your values. When you live this way, your life becomes a testament to your character, your resilience, and your commitment to growth. The true power lies in what you create, not just with your voice, but with your hands, your heart, and your action. When you embody what you speak, your life becomes your loudest message, resonating long after the words have faded. Walk in quiet confidence. There's a power in moving through life with calm assurance, not because you have to prove something, but because you've already accepted your worth. Confidence doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to be loud or flashy. It doesn't need to demand attention. True confidence is felt in the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak, in the way you respond. It's in the quiet moments when no one is watching, and in those moments you find your true strength. Quiet confidence doesn't need to convince anyone of anything. It simply is, and in its being, it commands respect. To walk in quiet confidence means you are no longer driven by the approval of others. You don't need to seek validation or permission to show up as your authentic self. You understand that your value is inherent, not dependent on the applause or opinions of the world around you. When you walk with confidence, you stop measuring your worth by external standards. You become secure in who you are, knowing that your value is fixed, unshaken by criticism or praise. It's not arrogance, it's self-assuredness. It's knowing that you don't need to convince anyone of your place in the world because you are already exactly where you need to be. Confidence doesn't always come from loud declarations or grand gestures. Sometimes it's the way you move through life with quiet assurance. It's in the way you navigate challenges without panic, trusting that you have the inner strength to face whatever comes. It's in the way you listen more than you speak, knowing that silence often holds more power than words. Walking in quiet confidence means trusting your instincts, making decisions without second-guessing yourself, and standing firm even when the world around you seems uncertain. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. Your confidence speaks for itself. True confidence isn't about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about embracing imperfection and being okay with not knowing everything. It's about walking into any situation with the trust that you are capable, that you have what it takes to navigate through whatever comes your way. It's the ability to stand tall in the face of uncertainty, to keep moving forward even when you don't have all the details. Quiet confidence doesn't fear mistakes. It knows that failure is just another step toward growth. It understands that success is not about perfection, but about resilience, persistence, and self-belief. When you walk with quiet confidence, you give others permission to do the same. Your calm presence becomes a beacon of possibility, showing others that they don't need to shout or prove themselves in order to be seen. Your actions speak louder than words, and by simply living in your truth, you inspire those around you to do the same. People are drawn to your grounded energy, to the steadiness that comes from knowing you are exactly where you need to be. Quiet confidence is contagious. It creates a ripple effect, helping others realize that they too can walk through life with strength, dignity, and peace. It's important to remember that quiet confidence doesn't mean silence in the face of injustice or passivity in the face of opportunity. It means speaking and acting when the time is right, not when you feel the need to prove something. It means making decisions from a place of calm assurance, not from a place of fear or insecurity. Quiet confidence allows you to speak up when necessary, but to do so with purpose, clarity, and conviction. It's not about avoiding conflict or shrinking back. It's about knowing when to step forward and when to remain composed, trusting that your presence alone is enough to create impact. When you walk with quiet confidence, you also learn to trust the process of your life. You understand that not everything needs to be rushed. You learn patience in your journey, knowing that everything will unfold in its own time. You embrace the highs and lows with grace, understanding that each season has its purpose. Confidence comes not from the destination, but from the trust you place in the journey itself. By walking in quiet confidence, you allow yourself to be present in each moment, to enjoy the process, and to trust that you are exactly where you need to be, even when the road is unclear. Walking in quiet confidence also means taking responsibility for your own energy. You stop giving your power away to other people's opinions, to circumstances, or to the fear of not measuring up. You become the source of your own strength, the one who creates the conditions for your own success. You learn how to protect your peace, to guard your mindset, and to focus on what truly matters. With quiet confidence, you don't waste energy chasing things that are not aligned with your true purpose. Instead, you focus on the things that bring you peace, joy, and fulfillment, knowing that when you align yourself with your purpose, everything else will fall into place.